Yeah, we're back in the studio. I was just talking to Catherine Noble, who is my next guest. And Catherine, good morning to you. It's nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you.
I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Robin, and that is, because we do have these new residents, and they want to know, who is Catherine Noble? Where does she work?
Okay. Well, great. Well, my name is Catherine Noble, so I am the volunteer coordinator here at Garden Ridge. So I help residents stay engaged in what they like to do. Many of our residents here have volunteered their entire lives, and we want them to continue to do so because it's fun and it's a great thing to do. So if someone needs to know, gosh, what are the opportunities? What's going on here? Can I volunteer here on campus? What if I want to volunteer outside, of campus? What are those opportunities?
Good point.
So the best way to find me is to just give me a call on the phone. My office is actually in Garden Ridge. It's on the second floor at Garden Ridge, is where the office is. But I will be honest, I'm not often in the actual office because I'm out and about, going to a lot of different groups, helping people, meeting with people, trying to keep them engaged in all the things that go on. My phone number, though, is 703-923-3154. I'll give you that again. It's 703-923-3154. And my office is at Garden Ridge on the second floor.
That's great. Thank you, Catherine. Now, you have some important news that you want to pass along to us.
I do, a couple of different things. One, we're at the end of the year, so our volunteers are recognized throughout the year, and we do try to track hours so that we can recognize them in a variety of ways. So just a kind reminder to get your volunteer sheets in. You can drop them off at the benevolent care boxes at any of the clubhouse front desk. If you ran out of forms and you want an extra form, they're behind the front desk. You can just ask the communication specialist to give you a volunteer form. You can write it out right there, fill it in, and drop it right there in the benevolent care box.
It's all handy.
One stop.
One-stop shop.
That's right. But one of the things that I wanted to feature today is sort of an existing new program that we have. We've expanded a very good program at Garden Ridge. Many of you will see residents that say, with a little name badge that says Garden Ridge Ambassador. And I wanted to speak about what that is a little bit. So it's been around for quite some years, the Garden Ridge Ambassador Program. And it's done very well. It's helped many, many people. The group, what they do is we have two different groups. We've expanded it. So the original group is sort of the Education Communications group. And that group is still strong and vibrant and going well. That group is led by Peggy Patterson, and Barbara Hawkins. And what that group does is it provides information to our residents. You mentioned that we have new residents here on campus. So if they see someone with that little tag that says Garden Ridge Ambassador, they may have a question. So go ahead and stop the ambassador, ask them a question that you might have. We find sometimes that residents, especially new residents, might feel more comfortable talking to an existing resident over maybe going to a staff member that they don't know yet. So, that's what the Ambassador Program is for residents to really network with other residents that know about Garden Ridge, that can tell and provide information about all the happenings at Garden Ridge. That program actually was the one who spearheaded the tours that happen at Garden Ridge for our residents. So residents that maybe they've never even been in the building. They're just curious, what does the building look like? What services are offered there? They can just call admissions office. Arzo is the one who takes care of that at Garden Ridge, and just say, I'm interested in going on the weekly tour. And Arzo will schedule them. But it was because of this volunteer ambassador group that even started. And looking into 2017, the Education and Communication Group is looking to expand some of their services to spearhead some programs that are educational programs, seminars with Garden Ridge. So those things will be announced as we move forward on the scrolls. We'll probably have some at Garden Ridge and maybe even some at the theater, depending on the, how many people we need to accommodate. But some of the topics that they might focus on are, gosh, what can we do to prevent falls? Something very basic. There are things that we can all do. So this group really helps people learn about, not only about the services at Garden Ridge, but about just health overall. They work very cohesively with the Health Services Committee. They attend, the resident council meetings at Garden Ridge, so they work with the administration at Garden Ridge as well as the executive team. So they're very, very well and knowledgeable people. So I would say just reach out to them if you have a question about Garden Ridge. And then we also have a new group at Garden Ridge.
Before we go,
Sure.
Catherine, is there a training program for anybody who wants to become part of the ambassadors?
Well, that's an excellent question. So yes, there is a training program. So anybody who volunteers at Garden Ridge goes through our volunteer orientation, which talks and teaches you about the actual building. Gosh, if you're at Garden Ridge and let's say a fire alarm went off, you want to know what to do.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
So it talks about how to, get up and down the staircase, 'cause some of those are key codes. It talks about aging and about how to communicate with people that might have cognitive deficits. It also teaches you how to push a wheelchair. It sounds pretty basic, but there are some precautions that we need to take.
So you mentioned a second ambassador program.
So the expanded ambassador program that we started this year, that is spearheaded by our resident Lynn O'Connor. And there was a nice article in the Villager not too long ago about how that started. And it's been phenomenal. It's been a great program. And what that ambassador program does, those people, you can also ask any question. They'll be able to tell you. But the Transition Support Ambassador program, what they do is they target residents who are new to Garden Ridge. There are so many questions and you're learning so much. Just like when you moved in, you had to learn where the beauty shop was. You had to learn the meal times. You had to learn all the things. So when you go to Garden Ridge, you have to learn those as well. So, and the staff help residents with that, but there are so many questions and you can't remember everything when you have a lot of papers and you're given all this information. So the ambassador program, the transition ambassador program, an ambassador will be assigned to a specific resident for 2 to 3 weeks.
Really?
Yes. So, and they go in, the initial visit, and they explain what they do. And would you like to have this service? We haven't had anybody say no. So it's a wonderful service. They're given a little calling card that's nice, bright, kind of a yellow. The family can call the ambassadors as well. And they're just there to really support that person through that transition.
I think you answered my question that I had, and that was, I was going to ask, are ambassadors on the floor most all the time? I think you answered that.
Yes, they are out and about, and they're in the residents' rooms, working with those residents, talking to family members, really networking with staff too. It can be something very simple. For instance, let's say someone moved in yesterday, and today the ambassador goes in to visit, and the resident might say, well, gosh, the laundry system is different than what I'm used to when I lived in independent living. Where do I put my laundry? So they can help them with that. They can show them where the laundry bag is and what they do and when it will get picked up. So it's a wonderful service, very, very helpful. And we've also had just positive things that we didn't anticipate. For instance, an ambassador is assigned to someone for 2 to 3 weeks. Well, after that time period, guess what? You've just made a friend. And you've gone on to your next person you're supporting. Well, you still are visiting that person because you have that bond.
That's a wonderful thing.
It's just really added so much to Garden Ridge. And then also in addition to that, you know, we call both these ambassador groups whenever we just need a little help. For instance, at Halloween, we had a big candy shop set up at Garden Ridge, and we just needed a little more helping hands because everyone wanted to go to the candy shop.
Yeah.
It took one call, the ambassadors were there, and we had a slew of residents lined up to go through the candy shop.
That is wonderful.
It was wonderful. It really was. Just really positive things. So both these programs are really helping Garden Ridge. And you know, we're thankful for the support that we get from administration because they really do. They meet with the ambassadors, you know, at least once a month, and then ongoing if there are any questions. They're, you know, open arms. One of our ambassadors, they were at our staff appreciation party, and they just looked outside the window at Garden Ridge and they noticed there were no Christmas lights out in the garden there. Well, guess what? There were Christmas lights the very next day. So
How
it's just
thoughtful.
Exactly. You know, they're just so helpful. We really appreciate what they do.
Resident Mr. or Mrs. wants to volunteer. Who do I call and what's the number?
Right.
Again.
Okay, thank you. So they call Catherine Noble. They can call me and just say, I'm interested in volunteering. They don't have to know what they want to do. We can talk about that. And they call 703-923-3154. That's my office at Garden Ridge on the second floor at Garden Ridge.
3154,
Yes.
923-3154.
You got it.
That is absolutely amazing. What a wonderful program.
We have wonderful volunteers. We truly do.
So a resident or somebody in Garden Ridge obviously is not alone.
Not at all. Not
with
at all.
You and your ambassadors.
That's right. And you know, I have to give a nice shout out to our resident council president, Mary Sue, who also just at the last minute, I called her up and said, I know this is a long shot, but we're looking for a photographer for Christmas Day because we had 23 volunteers come in from the DC JCC to deliver 280 presents to our residents at Garden Ridge. And she said, no problem, I'll be there. She took a slew of pictures, so we have it all documented. It was beautiful. So again, she's an ambassador. We call them up, and they're there to help.
Let's give a salute to
Mary Sue
Garner.
I agree with you there.
This has been wonderful, but I'm going to leave with this thought. You have to come back and talk about the volunteers that we have from off campus. We didn't even touch on that.
Okay, I would love to.
So I look forward to seeing you again real soon.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I do have some announcements that I'd like to pass on, if I may.